Hello there, and welcome to Unqualified Opinions. I'm Marko Yerkovich.
And I'm Will Byerman.
And on today's video, we're going to be doing an early season breakdown of our top 5 MVP candidates to this point. But before we begin, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave your own unqualified opinions in the comment section down below. So let's get right into it. Will, who's at number 5 on your list of MVP candidates right now?
For number 5, I'll take the Slim Reaper. The Durantula, Kevin Durant. First year back from a pretty bad injury, but he's picked up the slack pretty nicely. Currently averaging 29 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He's got the nets. I mean, Harden and Kyrie on that team too, but Kevin Durant is no question the alpha of that team, even with those two other big stars. The Nets are a good team, and I do think that the big controversy we'll probably go over a lot on this list is trying to figure out, do you take the guys with the best stats? Do you take the best guys from the best teams? You can kind of do both with Kevin Durant on this one. That's where I'm going to be on this list, is trying to pick the best of both worlds. But he's had a tremendous season. The Nets look like they could be real championship contenders at this point. Kevin Durant's a pretty easy MVP candidate for me.
So Kevin Durant was just outside of my list. I had Bradley Beal at 5, and let me explain really quickly. Kevin Durant has actually played less than 70% of his team's games. One of the best sayings, of course, is the best ability is availability. And right now, Kevin Durant is not available for the Nets enough. And obviously, maybe once the season prolongs and he'll have been there more often. But at the moment, Bradley Beal leads the league in scoring and has really impressive shooting splits. And also, I think just odds-wise, I don't think it's wise to put Kevin Durant on this list because I don't think he can win MVP with 2 other all-star caliber players playing all-star, if not MVP caliber style basketball, albeit in smaller spurts on the same team as him. So even though Bradley Beal is on a team at the very bottom of the Eastern Conference, he's playing just such tremendous basketball that I thought I had to include him at number 5. All right, Will, who do you have at number 4?
Number 4, I got the Joker, the Cookie Monster, Nikola Jokic. Right off the bat, Denver, great team. Jokic, once again, great stats. 27 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 39% from 3, which is a pretty good number by his standards at least. Not a huge knockdown shooter, but he's shown some improvement there. His stats aren't going to be as good as guys like Curry's or Doncic's or other bigger names, but I think as good as Denver's been, as critical as Jokic has been to them, and it's just as well-rounded he is at all aspects of the offensive game, I think he's always going to be an underrated MVP candidate.
All right, so at 4 for me, I'm going to have to put Damian Lillard, who I think has been and always will be an underrated player in the league for the Trailblazers. He's got them currently top 5 in the West. I think that's about likely where they'll finish. Maybe the 4, 5, or 6 seed certainly won't have to be in the play-in round more than likely. He's got pretty great stats this season. He's averaging 29 points, 7.5 assists on 45% shooting, 38 from 3, and 93% from the free throw line. And obviously, I think this is the best season of his career so far. I think this is potentially the best regular season that the Trailblazers have had with him as the team leader. And I really don't see any other player play as intensely and as purposefully and as vigorously as Damian Lillard plays. As far as effort is concerned, I think he's probably one of the toughest, strongest players in the league. So, Portland may not be the best team, and he may not be the best player, but right now he's playing like an MVP, and he does still have the stats to show it.
So for number 3 for me, I'm going to take Damian Lee's brother-in-law, Seth Curry's brother. Steph Curry.
Who's this guy?
Steph Curry.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, he's pretty new. He's made a great comeback season this year, 20 or 30 points a game. This guy's out of nowhere, but yeah, 30.1.
I think he went to Davidson. Where is that?
5 rebounds, 5 assists, and he is single-handedly holding a Warriors team that has no purpose and no need to be in the NBA.
They have no direction.
They're in the NBA playoff picture right now because of Steph Curry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Comeback story, a lot of it, you have to factor in there. It's going to be a lot of narrative stuff when it comes down to the MVP selection because the media is the one who does it. That's why LeBron's on the list for me. You're going to see a lot of voter fatigue from year to year. Steph's a good story. He's got amazing stats, and he's carrying a bad team to a good record. Easy MVP candidate for me.
Yeah, so at number 3, I've got Joel Embiid. So the Sixers are atop the Eastern Conference pretty comfortably, and they're playing probably the best basketball out of everyone. Maybe other than the Brooklyn Nets, Boston, Indiana, and Milwaukee are all kind of slipping right now. Meanwhile, Philadelphia is rising pretty well, and obviously Joel Embiid is having some of the best stats of his career, some of the best performances. He really looks like a dominant guy, and on most nights, if a team isn't like the Jazz or Denver with really dominant, good defensive centers, he owns the paint all day. If he's not playing against another elite center, teams are having to double team. A guy is really good when one of the primary focuses of the opponent's game plan is focusing on a specific guy and his specific skill sets, and that's what teams have to do with Joel Embiid. He can also play from the outside. He's got a decent three-point shot, and of course, his team is first in the East, so Joel Embiid at 3. Who do you have at 2?
Number 2, I have Joel Hans Embiid. Yeah, I'm having fun with basketball reference with the nicknames and middle names and such. But, all the same reasons you said, Marco. He's unstoppable in the paint most nights. There are guys like Gobert and Adebayo who can give him some trouble. And then there's some guys like Sabonis and especially Jokic who can give him some trouble on the offensive end. But, he's carrying a 76ers. This is probably the best the 76ers have been in a while. Ben Simmons has been down. Tobias Harris has been pretty good, but they've finally surrounded Joel Embiid with three-point shooters and defenders, and he's just going off. 29 points, 10 rebounds, shooting 40% from 3. Pretty low volume, but I think Joel's just up. He's stepped his game up so much. I think he's definitely a top MVP candidate.
Yeah, this team is on course for their best regular season finish since 2001. And if it's better than that, it'll be their best regular season finish since 1983.
He's also the first man to successfully turn the fact that he hasn't suited up for the team that drafted him for like 3 years because of injuries. He turned that into the process, which is a popular nickname. Like, that's some elite ad PR spin stuff. He's a star for that one, Marco.
He's good in the spin room. He's a great interview. So you have him at 2. I have him at 3. You had Steph Curry at 3. I have Steph Curry at 2. Now, I want to look at a statistical split that's really interesting. Steph Curry was back-to-back MVPs, and in the second year of his back-to-back MVPs, he was a unanimous MVP. This season, Steph Curry, at the moment, is averaging more points, more assists, higher three-point percentage, higher field goal percentage, higher free throw percentage, and a higher overall offensive rating than that season. That's pretty phenomenal in my eyes. And of course, obviously, just in those short 5 years, the NBA and the style of play has shifted to be more dominant with isolation and shooting, but I still find that stat to be extremely impressive. Will, I feel like Steph Curry's underrated right now.
For sure.
It feels like he's underrated. And I guess, you kind of said the rest, so Steph Curry at 2. I wonder who we both have at 1.
Well, for me, it's the Don, the Wonder Boy, the Matador, Luka Doncic, my guy in Dallas. But look, Dallas is a team that currently has no business being nearly any good without Doncic. And since our video about what's wrong with the Mavericks, they've now climbed to number 9th in the West Conference. And the schedule's looking
We'll link that
pretty
in the
favorable.
description below.
Schedule's pretty favorable to them for the next couple games, but Doncic just continues to improve. 29 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. 3-point percentage at 33s, climbing up there. Started off pretty cold from 3, but he's improving there. His PER is still top 3 in the league. There's just not much else to say about Doncic. Can you maybe find a more deserving MVP by the end of the season? Sure, but dude's 21.
Yeah.
He's already an MVP frontrunner.
I completely agree with everything you're saying statistically, and he's a great leader, and he shows effort on defense, but we have not really. He is one of the most elite offensive talents, both from a volume and efficiency standpoint, that we've ever seen, and he is 21 years old, like you said. We've never seen a player like him grow at the rate he's grown. So Doncic is the clear number 1 for both of us. I just want to discuss one quick thing before we go, Will, and that's the fact that MVP candidates are very often, and you alluded to this in the opening, is the best player on the best team. Right now, the Utah Jazz are far and away the best team in the NBA. And it's not entirely clear who the best player on that team is, but why isn't a guy like Donovan Mitchell getting MVP hype at the moment?
If you look at what my 5 guys have in common, all of them can do pretty much everything you need them to do, whether it's scoring, rebounding, guys like Steph are going to do that as much, but scoring and facilitating and efficiency are big things. And Donovan's great. I think it was bullshit when Shaq said he wasn't going to be a superstar to his face. Like that was kind of a weak move, but I don't think he's had some major clutch performances like that 50-point playoff game, but I don't think he's enough of a distributor and just a team.
Yeah, and I also think there's the whole factor that he plays for Quinn Snyder in a system that's very well built, and I don't think a lot of the guys that play in Utah get enough credit because of the system getting a lot of credit. And also, you do see, several, both Bojan Bogdanovic and Joe Ingles are averaging over 15 points a game in this system. Mike Conley is very, very efficient. Rudy Gobert is probably the most important player for the Jazz in the way that they play, and their bench is very efficient. It's in the same way that you kind of alluded to, it would be difficult for Jokic to win the MVP just because of the system, how they play. So let us know who your top 5 MVP candidates are in the comments down below. Let us know who you think the leading candidate for the MVP is down below. Again, for Marko Yurkovich and Will Byerman, thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys next time.